Hi, I'm Robert, and this is That's the Movie. Today I'll be reviewing Only God Forgives. I'm a big fan of the director, Nicholas Winding Refn. He directed Drive, he directed Valhalla Rising, and a few others back in. He had a trilogy he had going on and everything. I'm a big fan of his movies. I really like Drive. Drive is probably one of my favorite movies. Just first off, just his directing is the best part of all his movies, and with the same music guy, Cliff Martinez, and every time he decides to make a soundtrack for any movie, it's just amazing. So first off, about this movie, the plot. Okay, Drive's plot wasn't very strong, but it was good. It was all right, and I thought the movie itself, probably visually, was amazing. That was the best part of the movie, way better than Drive. And I can understand why a lot of people didn't like this movie, because this is nothing like Drive. This makes Drive seem like a mainstream, it makes it seem like Fast and the Furious. But now this movie was, I see why people don't like it, but it's a good art house film. That's what it is. It's a good art house film. It's just beautiful directing. That's what it was. Just great directing. But when you get to the plot, okay, and mostly the writing is what bothered me here. So this movie stars Ryan Gosling, and he plays his character Julian. After killing a man 10 years ago, he flees to Bangkok in Thailand, and he decides to open a boxing ring and also run an underground drug operation. Yeah, so he's a bad guy, and he has his brother Billy, played by Tom Burke. Tom Burke, that's what it is. Tom Burke. He plays his brother Billy. They're brothers, really good brothers. They love each other. And one night, Billy decides to kill an underage prostitute, and after he murders her, the father comes here, calls the cops and everything. And after he does this, they call in a retired cop named Chang, played by this guy Vithaya. I think it's Vithaya. Something with a P. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Anyways, he did a spectacular job, by the way. They bring in this retired cop to hunt down I don't know. They just bring him in. Didn't even explain why he came back. And what he does is he tells the man, the father of the daughter that was murdered, that he can get his revenge. So he allows the father to kill Billy, which is a psychopath, a really bad person, by the way. He kills him, and I guess he felt like Chang felt like to bring balance back, he decided to cut the father's hand off. So that's what he does, and then Ryan Gosling finds out, and they bring in his mother, who's played by Kristen Scott Thomas. Her name is Crystal in the movie. She comes back to bury her son. There was a problem for a lot of people, because when they first said, when Drive came around, everyone's like, oh, but Gosling doesn't say anything in the movie. He barely talks. I don't care if he's not going to talk. That doesn't bother me. And it didn't bother me in this movie, but he didn't feel like he did anything. I found out most of the story by looking up online. This was the problem that I saw here with the script. There was just very little dialogue to tell you what's actually happening. And there was a lot of backstory that was not said in the movie that was part of the story. Like the whole backstory I told you at the beginning, how Julian came to Bangkok, that was never said in the movie. Nothing was explained. It was kind of like left you a bit confused. I mean, I guess it was just trying to be in the moment, but that was a problem there as it is. And a lot of these characters, that Kristen Scott Thomas did a fantastic job, but I hated her character so much. Every time she was on screen, I just hated her. It was just, I could not stand the sight, or anything she said was just bothering me already. And then Ryan Gosling's character, he did fine, but he didn't have much to go on. It was mostly this stare. That stare thing he does was like that. And then and then you hear the music playing in the background. He's just that type of thing. I don't know who the character was. That's it. I just didn't know who he was. He was kind of like an anti-hero type thing, again, like his Drive character. But really, he didn't feel. It didn't feel like he was even there. Like he was just like this person. Like he was a main character, and I knew more about the supporting characters in this story than I knew about him. He was pretty much just pointless in there. He was just to have a main character. Again, I'm not saying that he did a bad job. I'm just saying that his characters were written badly. Lots of these characters were. I did enjoy though Chang, which was the antagonist, but in reality he was the good guy, because the bad guys was Ryan Gosling and his family. They were bad, while the cop was good. Even though he did some things that not most cops would do, but he is retired, so I guess it doesn't really apply to him. But then again, that'd just be vigilantism, but I don't know. This movie, a lot of the things, I was surprised just by researching it, the story, what exactly it was, because there was just nothing explained to you in this movie what was going on. So that's a big problem. That's the whole problem there with the plot, the writing. The story was, I guess, was fine. A bit of things where there was things were uncalled for, like there was no reason for it, no justifiable reason for something to happen or something to go on in this movie. It was kind of weird, and that's why I didn't like the writing. But excluding the whole plot, the movie itself visually was just amazing. It was just fantastic. It was way better than what he did in Drive. He liked doing a lot of these trippy type things where you wouldn't tell if it's kind of like a dream sequence where Gosling's character Julian would be like having these weird like hallucinations, but I don't think it was just a hallucination. It was just him imagining, daydreaming, and it was a bit trippy half the time. And there was a lot of foreshadowing that was kind of obvious once you got to the end, but it was good, very good directing. Fantastic lighting, fantastic cinematography, and visuals. This was just amazing. The soundtrack. Okay, now the soundtrack, that was the whole music here in this movie was just amazing. Like everything, every single track, all they played there was just fantastic music. And I always loved how Refn in his movies, he likes to do this thing where when there'd be lots of violence or the fighting would start, there wouldn't be anything whatsoever, but just any music whatsoever, just the sound of the two fight going out or the altercation, and that was just great. And there would be music either in the aftermath or leading up to the fight, or just random things, just walking down the street. And that's what I liked about the music. But I think I would say that this movie is not for everyone. Really not. Not anyone can watch this movie, because it's definitely not for the mainstream audience. That's why it did badly, but that's what I expected. And a lot of critics did hate this movie, and I can understand why. Canes, it got booed at, and I can see why. Because in the end, as beautiful as the movie was visually, it wasn't a very good movie. I barely could even finish it half the time. I really just went through because I just liked the directing. So I was like, okay, this is cool. I'd probably rewatch it a few times. This is a movie you have to rewatch because there's so little dialogue. You miss little subtle cues, because he does a lot of subtlety in here and lots of looks. And you have to see what those looks actually mean. And this whole movie was like, everything was just metaphorical. There was not much. It wasn't lots of explanation. It was just you had to figure it out yourself. And for the mainstream audience, I can understand why that is, why they didn't like it, because everyone wants to go see a movie to be entertained, not to have to figure out a puzzle, not to look at it. It's not like going to a museum, because this movie was like going to a museum and looking at a piece of art and enjoying it and looking and giving it a critique, looking at it, seeing what's the faults in it, what's the good things. Because in the end, this wasn't very entertaining. It was just a good art house film. Again, that's all it is. You can't come to this movie to expect to be a good crime thriller. No, not even that. So anyways, you can follow me on Twitter, and it's at TheRealRobertAH, and the same thing on Facebook. And you can check out my column at our website, thesashamarinashow.com. Yeah, that was Only God Forgives. It's out already. This is a bit delayed. I can understand that. Sorry. That's the movie. And